impossible not to use my buzzer on our next speaker. I mean, you know, he represents this unholy coalition of big, large mining companies, which clearly is out to destroy our country and its economy. Was that very positive introduction of Paul? Let me just catch up with myself. So Paul is going to talk to us about the trade-offs between growth and transformation. He does that as the president of the Minerals Council of South Africa, but as we all know, he's been the CEO very successfully of Northern Platinum. Mr. Dunne, where are you, sir? Thank you very much, Paul.
Yeah, thank you. Not as good looking as Hugh Grant here. More like Jack Nicholson, ugly and charming. Yeah, seriously though, this is a tough subject, as Bernard points out. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Bernard, for allowing me to address the important issues of growth and transformation on behalf of the Minerals Council of South Africa. By the way, our members represent 90% of all mining companies by volume output of the country, both large and small. Collectively, we believe that the growth of the mining industry and the transformation of the economy are not mutually exclusive, but are rather inextricably intertwined. We can't have one without the other in many respects, but we need a stable, regulatory, predictable environment that promotes both. A mining industry that attracts both local and international capital for the development of new mines and the expansion of existing operations will create more employment opportunities, attract new entrants, and multiply all the benefits that the mining industry delivers for the country. Should have put my glasses on at the beginning. As a reminder for the audience, I think it is worth reminding ourselves, the mining industry employs around 465,000 people in relatively well-paid jobs. These jobs represent decent work and come with a very high economic multiplier effect. The people who work in mines also have a high dependency ratio in terms of the extended families that they support. The industry spends about 7 billion rand per year on training and skills development. Our programs are focused both on employees and community members and provide for grassroots transferable skills. Mining is so much more than digging minerals out of the ground. Companies have extensive social and labor plans, which uplift communities through enterprise and supplier development programs, as well as large investments in infrastructure, schools, and healthcare facilities. In many cases, mining operations take place in remote parts of the country, quite rural actually, and they're the only source of jobs and income in those regions. Often, our companies step in to provide services and infrastructure that failing or dysfunctional municipal governments are not delivering. Mining matters to our economy too, as you all know. It accounts for 6% of GDP and 800 billion rands worth of exported mineral products, representing 45% of total exports of the country. Corporate tax payments amounted to 43 billion rand last year, contributing 14% of total corporate tax collection. For the investors in the audience, mining companies, as you probably know, make up 32% of the JSE top 40 by market capitalization. Mining matters is not just a slogan, it's a fact. It's critical for mining companies and investors throughout the value chain to have a pragmatic, stable regulatory environment that attracts investment rather than discourages it by onerous, globally uncompetitive policy. It is our considered view that the proposed Minerals Amendment Bill, in its original form, does not encourage or sustain the growth and investment that the mining industry needs to realize its full potential, to create employment, to stimulate the economy, and to fulfill its social mandate. Council has submitted a detailed document outlining our concerns, and we remain constructively engaged during the current consultation phase. We do, however, expect somewhat of a protracted period before a redraft emerges, potentially extending into the new year. The mining industry has made significant contributions to transformation to address the historical injustices of the past. These contributions were made despite the industry facing headwinds of a difficult operating and regulatory environment, which has reduced the potential contribution of mining from historic levels. Minister Gwedi Mantashe has often said on public platforms that the mining industry is the most transformed sector in our country, and we agree. Our 2019 study reviewed progress made on Mining Charter 2010. The respondents represented about 70% of the total sector at that time and achieved 39% HDSA shareholding against the 26% target. Ownership was broad-based. Employees owned a total weighted average of 7.5%. Community members owned 9.4% at that time, and HDSA entrepreneurs owned 22.3%. The mining sector spends in excess of 3 billion rand annually on social and labor plans, building homes, schools, roads, bridges, clinics, water infrastructure, and sewage works. An employment equity study undertaken in 2023 of members showed that in many occupational levels, targets were met and exceeded, and that overall, the industry was close to achieving most targets. Women now comprise about 1/5 of all employees. We must consider that before 1994, women were actually legislated out of the underground workforce. A degree of stigma and even superstition has been overcome, and we're better off for it. Given the contribution that mining makes to the national economy, to employees and communities, it is not difficult to understand why the Council is so emphatic about the need for regulatory and operating environment that attracts investment and encourages and sustains growth. Picking up on what was said earlier by Duncan, in the South African context, it costs, in round numbers, 20 billion rand and takes 10 years to build a decent-sized mine, and that excludes the exploration phase. Very few mining companies have that type of money lying around on the balance sheet. Companies need to operate in an environment that allows them to attract capital in the form of debt or equity to fund projects. Providers of capital, on the other hand, will not put their money into risky investments where their returns are threatened by regulatory uncertainty, crime and corruption, and failing infrastructure. At the very least, the cost of capital increases significantly, rendering projects unviable that otherwise would proceed. This is the fundamental starting point of all our discussions with Minister Mantashe and his colleagues, as well as other government departments. The mining industry has been severely constrained during the past 3 decades by regulatory uncertainty, weak administrative processes, unnecessary delays in licensing authorizations, as well as the severe repercussions that state capture has had on electricity supply and cost, and rail and port disruption. The mining industry has enormous untapped potential in the minerals that we already mine, and also the minerals of the future, provided we can unlock exploration and attract investment. The Minerals Council will not relent in lobbying and advocating for the best possible regulatory and operating environment to realize this potential for the benefit of all shareholders, employees, communities, and of course, the broader South African economy. We are fully engaged with government on the legislative issues at hand, including the proposed amendment bill and the chrome export tax issue. It is extremely important for both investment and job creation that rational outcomes prevail and not inappropriate policy responses to misdiagnosed problems. As the question was posed by Bernard, can we achieve growth and transformation at the same time? Of course we can. But we must ensure an enabling policy framework that attracts and retains capital to be able to do so. Mining is a very people-centric undertaking, and we are deeply connected to the fabric of society at ground level. We don't make money in Joburg. We make money on the mines. It's very important that we succeed. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you rigged up? You know, I am just surprised that our 2 egos fitted into the same wall. Never mind the same states. So, Paul, you stand, I don't have to press the buzzer, you stand by Gwede and our own assessment that the South African mining industry is very transformed, more transformed than others. You believe your own numbers.
Absolutely.
So women,
I would just make the point, go to the mines and have a look.
I agree.
You will see it clearly.
I agree. Look at the audience. You'll see. I want to go to women. I mean, many years ago, when Pumzile was our minister, and that mining charter was a gemors, and I said to her, yes, I get everything, but this bloody woman in mining, that's going to be hard. I mean, and the target was 10%. You spoke about how hard it was. We're way past 10%. But there's a cynicism in the question here, but women, there may be progress in numbers, but they are disadvantaged at pay level. Is that true?
No, I don't believe so. Our pay structures in the companies that are represented in general by the Minerals Council that have very structured. It doesn't allow for it actually. There may be differences on experience, that's for sure. But in terms of the compounding effect of increments over many years. If a man has been in the job for 20 years, he would have enjoyed those increments. If there's a young lady in there for 5 years, maybe not so. And that can give you a difference. But fundamentally, the pay scales are not structured to disadvantage women.
And I would challenge whoever put that question forward and anonymously. I know for a fact that recent Impala's remuneration policy, whatever publication, made statements about how the gap is non-existent. So I think we need to challenge the perceptions with the facts, and I'm very happy to engage in future on the factual basis. The assumption that women are advanced but underpaid, you categorically disagree with,
I don't agree.
Both at Nordam and at the industry level. There's a question about how's the council strengthening its strategic role in influencing policy and driving exploration development countries' mineral resources. It's very nicely saying, are you relevant? Are you relevant enough? Do you think the council is influential? Are you getting things done?
The council is a very important part of the mining industry. And most mining companies, almost all large mining companies, and many small mining companies are part of council. It is part of that coalition of the willing that Duncan spoke about. It also operates in a way that is not always entirely immediately visible to the broader community, and I think we accept that. It's not the way we work. But there's a great deal of expertise in council and very committed, hardworking people. And I'll exemplify that by explaining what is happening now with respect to the amendment bill. As you know, we received the bill in the middle of this calendar year, and it took some deciphering. There were omissions, definition issues, the regulations associated with the bill are not there. And we have a team at council, a very experienced team that have done this before in the previous round of regulation change. They know what to do, they get on with it in the background, and of course, they are relevant. What the audience does need to understand is this is a process now. We have made our initial comments against the first draft. That document, by the way, is a 200-page document. It's very, very detailed and extensive and legalistic in nature somewhat. We're now in a period, and as I tried to express in the speech there, that may last some time of consultation with the department and government. We have begun that at office bearer level, at ministerial level. We've had initial face-to-face conversation with our minister to express why we feel like we feel and what is coming. But what the audience needs to remember, it's a long process. Potentially a redraft will only materialize at the end of this year, at the very best, probably actually into the new year, and we'll take it from there. But we will make sure that the council's voice is heard, and the council represents, as I said once again, 90% of all mining companies by volume.
And of course, that explains why there's so many lawyers in the audience here. It's a fantastic mining field for our sponsors and others.
That's why it's 200 pages and not
yeah, exactly my point. But then, Paul, I would challenge you and say, but sometimes as an industry and therefore as a council, we get the wool pulled over our eyes. I mean, NERSA ran circles around you with the electricity increases. I mean, they lied to the public and we swallowed it. They announced 12% increases, which the reality isn't that. How do we, as an industry, stay on top of an environment where once I've announced something, it's the truth, even if it's wrong?
Yeah, the cost of energy, in particular the cost of electrical energy, is a foundation stone of any country's competitiveness. It is really so fundamental. And as you know, we've experienced in SA a compounding absolute increase of around about 900% in just over a decade. In the last year's determination, the NERSA determination on the face of it was 12.9%. But there was a second allowance to allow for changes inside the Megaflex tariff structure, which effectively on a like-for-like basis resulted in absolute electricity cost increases per kilowatt hour in our company, and we wouldn't be too much different from the large energy users of about 15.5% year on year per kilowatt hour.
And so should we just say thank you, or should we do something?
Well, one can imagine what if that continues, and unfortunately the trajectory is not looking strong. It is really putting the country in an uncompetitive position with respect to electrical power. There is a solution, and that's to deregulate the grid and allow other entrants. And of course, this is very difficult for Eskom to accept because they must protect their own business, and they do that and should do that. But at the end of the day, the country needs competitive energy. And we have, as you said earlier, great sunlight in particular, great sunlight, and some good wind. And the cost, all-in cost of that type of power is in fact significantly lower than the current rates we are paying for Eskom. We need to allow that energy onto the grid and allow the country to be more competitive with respect to power. It is such a fundamental competitive issue at country level. And the result of the years of increases that we have seen is causing great stress in the ferro-alloy industry, as you know. The ferro-alloy industry, energy is one of the largest input costs. And the reality is, it is causing competitive problems. We are struggling to compete with China on that issue. The real problem for ferrochrome in particular is in fact the cost of energy. And you know, to try and address that with a taxation of another part of cross-subsidy, I mean, really, you know, it just surprises me that that even makes the headline. But
yeah, no, that is an interesting approach. So I'm trying to distill, you and I spoke about this NERSA determination announced at a certain level, in reality something else. Are we just rolling over and accepting it? Is there anything to be done? Is this a fight worth fighting?
Deregulate the grid.
Yeah, but that's long term. In the meantime, the rates are up.
But we've got to start. We've got to be deadly serious about deregulation of the grid.
So, Paul, there are lots of questions here about the sort of effectiveness of interactions with the government. But when we engage with our government, are we engaging with ideologues? I mean, I'm not talking bad behind Gwede's back. I normally talk bad to his face about him, and he takes it well. But, I mean, is there just an ideological difference still, 30 years into democracy? Are us as an industry and our government just still seeing everything differently?
In my personal experience talking to the minister, I found him very personable and very relatable, and he himself relates very well to mining. So I do not perceive that. But there are many pressures, of course, inside the politics of the day. And it's not just about the minister. The same, by the way, would apply with the DG. When we have our discussions, I'm not going to repeat what we say in those discussions, but the nature of the discussions is constructive. So we have a chance. I think that's really what I'm trying to say. We have a chance. We must be listened to. And in any case, if we are not listened to, and there's a sandbagging effect, which I think you were referring to earlier, the consequence will be we will not be able to attract the capital at the right cost to be able to do what this industry needs. So, you know, you can't get away from that indisputable rationale. We need the money. 20 billion rand is a lot of money to build a reasonable sized mine. And we need, of course, much more than 20 billion rand. That would be just one. When I say a mine, I'm talking about a single shaft system.
So there are quite a few questions touching on the space of exploration and the environment in which exploration may thrive again. Even Duncan didn't answer all my questions about exploration and the fact that Anglo seem to have done it all and then they stopped doing it. But, I mean, how much time does exploration or the lack thereof or the environment that is required to succeed, how much time does it get at council meetings? Is this topical, or are we so busy with railway lines and Eskom and policy?
I must be frank about that. We have been all consumed by, firstly, the issues of power, availability and
Understandably,
cost. Infrastructure, in particular Transnet, and then crime and corruption. And then very recently, now in the middle of this year, we have been engaged with the amendment bill, and now recently the proposed chrome taxation issue.
Yeah.
So that is taking more precedence, I think, than the exploration issue at council level for the moment.
So, all the people sending the questions, let's keep on stirring. These big guys are busy with very important stuff, and exploration will take 20 years before we see the benefits. It's a very easy trade-off to fix the railway line rather than get to the environment for exploration. But we will continue to explore it over the 2 days. So, I mean, a chrome export tax sounds mad. What is it that you would have done if you were the minister? So instead of taxing exports?
Yeah, I think the permitting system is a good idea. I think that will help. We have a problem in chrome with illegal mining of chrome.
But I read it's 10% only.
Well,
or is it 10% only?
It's debatable as to what the volumes are, but they're not inconsiderable volumes. And for chrome outcrops, for those who don't know, near to surface, so you can free dig it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that going on, and that's moving out through ports, and it's not properly regulated. So the permitting system, as long as it does not come with other inhibitions for legally mined chrome, we would agree with. I think it will help a lot if we stop that illicit flow of chromite out of the country.
So I believe the Minerals Council CEO is not necessarily the biggest fan of the new NEC economic growth plan. He finds it 20 points of sort of a wish list, lack of focus, lack of activity, lack of urgency. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sure he doesn't want to make eye contact with me at the moment. But as an industry, is that just another wish list? I mean, what is the view of the industry?
We got the answer on the board in the initial survey. Sort out policy and the regulatory framework within which we operate. It is one of those things that's within our capacity to do, and quite quickly, with the right political will. And I would suggest that is what's required.
A final comment. So I am sure, because we haven't heard that the 1st of October promised date for the cadastral system to be live and up and running in the Western Cape, I'm sure there's a delay, otherwise we would have read about it. I do find it interesting that we go to the Western Cape. I can just see my application for manganese mining in Stellenbosch. I love it. I mean, really, all those bastards who want mining but not in their backyard.
It's where the real mining is.
Yeah, exactly. I can't wait for that. I'm personally going to apply for a few mining permits there. But cadastre system, Duncan says, listen, so 7 years of talk, it is going to happen, it will change things. Are you as optimistic that the cadastre system will fundamentally change ground zero, the base?
I think a cadastral system, a formal system that is workable and understandable and simple and transparent, of course it will work. It basically is it's the lever we need to pull to get it going.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, you can't put miners on the stage. We have to complain, and then we get optimistic bullies, and we actually know what needs to be done. Paul, thank you very much for your contribution today. Thank you.